It's 100 feet below the ocean surface, inside the pitch-black wreckage of a sunken ship. The only things there are bone-chilling cold and a silence like a grave. But in a tiny pocket of trapped air, a man is clinging to life. He's been there alone for 3 days, and the rising water pressure is making it nearly impossible to breathe. Suddenly, a beam of light cuts through the darkness. A diver is searching the wreckage, looking for bodies. At that exact moment, a hand reaches out from under the water and grabs the diver's arm. The diver screams in pure terror, thinking a corpse has just touched him, but it wasn't a ghost. It was Harrison Okene. In 2013, after the tugboat Jascon 4 sank off the coast of Nigeria, he survived in that death trap for 60 hours. No food, no light, just a dwindling supply of oxygen and paralyzing fear. This is just one unbelievable example of how the sea can drag someone to the brink of death and force them to fight for every second. But the ocean's cruelty and the human will to survive it doesn't end there. Imagine being told you'd be stranded alone on a raft in the middle of the ocean for 133 days. In November 1942, a Chinese sailor named Poon Lim jumped into the Atlantic after his ship, the SS Benlomond, was hit by a German torpedo. The ship sank in just 2 minutes. Lim managed to find a wooden life raft. At first, he had a few biscuits and a little water, but how long can that last? What followed was a brutal struggle. He made a makeshift catch-all out of canvas to collect rainwater. Driven by hunger, he fashioned a fishhook out of a tin can. He even caught a seabird with his bare hands and drank its blood to stay hydrated. One day, a shark attacked his raft. Instead of giving up, Lim fought back, killed the shark, and drank its blood too. When Brazilian fishermen finally found him in April 1943, 133 days later, he had lost about 10 kilograms, but his spirit was unbroken. The human drive to stay alive seems to have no limits. Take the story of Steven Callahan in 1982. He set out to cross the Atlantic in his small boat, but in the middle of the night, a massive storm sank it. Callahan scrambled onto an inflatable raft. He had no stored food. He drifted on the tiny raft for 76 days. The scorching sun burned his skin to a crisp, and saltwater sores covered his body. He actually built a makeshift solar still to turn salt water into drinking water. To eat, he hunted fish with a spear. Many times, ships passed so close he could see them, but no one saw him. In the midst of that crushing loneliness and heartbreak, he kept a diary. That journal later became his famous book, Adrift. When he was finally rescued near the Caribbean islands 76 days later, he looked like a skeleton, but the triumph in his eyes was unmistakable. We all love a family boat trip, right? But for Dougal Robertson and his family in 1972, that dream turned into a living nightmare. Their sailing boat, the Lucette, was attacked by a pod of killer whales in the Pacific. Within minutes, the boat was holed and sinking. Dougal, his wife, and their 3 children ended up alone on a small raft in the middle of a vast ocean. They had no radio and no map. For 38 days, they drifted through the endless blue. To survive the extreme hunger, they ate raw turtle meat and drank turtle blood. They fought desperately to catch every drop of rainwater. Even with his young children facing death right before his eyes, Dougal never gave up. He kept his family's spirits alive until a Japanese ship finally spotted them. Those 38 days taught them that the ocean is as terrifying as it is beautiful. However, the most incredible story of survival might be that of José Salvador Alvarenga. In late 2012, he left the coast of Mexico to go fishing with a young companion. Suddenly, a massive storm pushed their boat deep into the ocean. The engine died, and they had no way to call for help. For days on end, the two of them tried to survive on raw fish, turtles, and rainwater. But after months passed, Alvarenga's companion lost hope and eventually passed away from starvation. Alvarenga was then completely alone. He drifted across the vast Pacific in a tiny boat for over a year. His skin turned dark from the sun, and his hair and beard grew into a wild mess. 438 days later, about 14 months, he washed up on a tiny coral island in the Marshall Islands. The whole world watched in shock. He had drifted nearly 9,000 miles purely on willpower. When he was first found, he could barely even speak his own language. It remains the longest solo survival at sea in modern history. Long before these modern tales, in 1704, another strange event took place. A sailor named Alexander Selkirk got into a fight with his captain and chose to be left on an uninhabited island in the Pacific. He figured a ship would come by and pick him up soon, but that soon took 4 years and 4 months. Alone on that deserted island, he learned how to survive. He hunted wild goats for meat and made clothes out of their skins. He even tamed wild cats to keep the rats away from his camp. When a British ship finally rescued him in 1709, he had practically turned into a wild man. His unbelievable story was an inspiration for the world-famous novel Robinson Crusoe. The vastness of the ocean reminds us just how small we really are. Whether it's 14 months, 133 days, or just 60 hours, when the sea tries to swallow someone, an epic battle begins. These people showed us that as long as your heart is beating, there is no reason to lose hope. From Harrison Okene in that dark underwater room to Alvarenga's 14-month journey, every second was a miracle. The ocean tried to take everything from them, but it couldn't take their lives. Because at the end of the day, there is no ocean deeper than the human will to live. If you're facing a tough problem today, just think about the person who sat on a raft for months, staring at the sky, waiting for a single drop of rain. Your struggle teaches us that life is precious and every breath is a victory. Have you ever wondered what you would do in a situation like that? Perhaps where human imagination ends, the real struggle for survival begins. We may never know how many other stories are buried beneath those blue waves, but the stories of these few will live on forever as inspiration. When you hear the roar of the ocean, it's not just the sound of waves, it's the echo of these warriors' victories. Standing before the immense power of nature, humans have proven time and again that we are resilient. We owe these survivors our deepest respect. What other mysteries or thrillers from around the world would you like to hear about next? Let us know in the comments.
Almost gone.